Good day. Is the Russia-Ukraine war about to escalate to include NATO and EU? Is it about to spill out of the boundaries of Ukraine and Russia and move into neighboring countries that border Ukraine and also border Russia? Countries like Poland and countries like Romania, Latvia, and Finland? The worry of a spillover is one that has made the Chinese delegation to the United Nations to complain that this war is about to spill into one that will possibly draw quite a lot of countries in. And the posture of NATO has really increased and become very aggressive in recent times. There's worry now that deployments of NATO troops into Finland, increased deployment of NATO troops in Poland, where over 40,000 troops have been mobilized to the Belarusian border, and increased activity of the Romanian Air Force, purportedly trying to shoot down Russian drones that has entered their airspace, has begun to cause a lot of worry. The rhetoric has ratcheted up. The NATO Secretary General is very, very emphatic in his demand that countries rally around Ukraine and increase their spending. The rhetoric of Ursula von der Leyen, head of the EU Commission, has also stepped up. The rhetoric is coming at a time that Russia and Belarus are presently carrying out a military exercise, one which they say is defensive in posture, but one where there's a lot of rattling and saber rattling of their tactical nuclear arsenal and their use of Oreshnik missiles, a missile system that has proven itself to be very deadly in just one strike in Ukraine. The potency was very clear for all to see. So this has caused a lot of worry, and the big question now is who's going to come on to supporting the Ukrainians or the Chinese or the Russians? Will the Chinese join the fray? And if they join the fray, on whose side will they join the fray? Will the Iranians be drawn into this war? Will the South North Koreans be drawn in? And most notably, will America step up and put boots on ground in this war? These are the questions I want to look at today in this episode. Good day and welcome to my channel, Ebima Mungo's Perspective on Global Affairs. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any views or comments regarding the opinions I express, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. The Chinese Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Geng Shuang, has said that China is taking note of the recent statements and responses from Russia, Poland, and Belarus regarding a recent incursion of 19 drones into Poland. That incursion of drones, which the Russians say was not from their own side. The Russians try to say they don't know anything about how drones got into Poland, but Poland was very, very active, mobilized planes, F-16s, got planes sent to them from Netherlands and from other countries within the region. And since then, they made a lot of noise about it. And that posturing was amplified by the rhetoric of Ursula von der Leyen and NATO. The conflict is one that is beginning to cause a lot of worry. Because when we look at it now, we look at all the countries that really border Russia and their posture and how they view what is happening around their neighborhood. We have NATO presence, military presence in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. And we have a Russian enclave in Kaliningrad. Russia, and part of this, their ZAPAD 25 military exercise that is going on is how to protect that particular enclave in Kaliningrad. To that extent that the Russians have sent some Iskander missiles closer to the Belarusian border there so that they can plan on how they can protect that particular corridor, the Slovakia corridor. This is a big problem for them. And now we are hearing about Finland has authorized that American NATO bases can be built in Finland. That has been authorized recently, and America is about to build 15 NATO bases in Finland. We also have heard that the Latvians too are also stepping up. The Lithuanians have Germans coming into their own. 2,000 Germans are coming into Lithuania to protect, and in addition to the existing NATO presence that is there. And this has led to a lot of worry that this war is about to spill over. Poland, particularly, the Polish president Karol Nawrocki has signed a resolution approving deployment of NATO forces into the territory of Poland as part of the Operation Eastern Sentry. Now they already have NATO forces in Poland. They have a presence of NATO. NATO is quite there, but now he has authorized that because of this ZAPAD 2025 that is going on, they should have more. They already have within the region of within the border of the Belarus 20,000. They have 20,000 already. 20,000, 40,000. I beg your pardon. Polish troops already now by the border with Belarus, and this is a big problem. This is a big problem for they are not relenting. They are not taking any chances, and it is one that is causing a lot of worry. They have stepped up, and they are very, very aware of what's going on. In fact, it's a NATO operation that is called Eastern Sentry, and that operation is going on just as this other operation is going on. The events are going on in Russia. The Poles are making a big show of the fact that they are also getting ready for any eventualities that may come their way. They mobilized 40,000 troops, and these troops are very prepared for any eventualities. They sent a lot of military equipment to the border, and they are very, very on alert. The ZAPAD 2025 has, I think, just about 10,000 to 20,000 troops, but the kind of weaponry that is being tested is what's worrying a lot of people. Hypersonic missiles are being tested. A lot of other things are being tested, and the Russians are really stepping it up. They are also showing postures in the Barents Sea. They are showing postures in the Black Sea, everywhere. And one of the things that they tested recently is the arsenal of the Oreshnik, the Zircon. They tested their Zircon missile systems recently in the sea. We should know that the Zircon is this hypersonic missile that flies at almost Mach 10. No country can stop it, and it is one of the premium assets of the Russians. This is becoming very clear now that a lot has stepped up, and this is causing a lot of worry. NATO Secretary General even believes that because of weapons like the Zircon, it may just be very easy for the Russians to be able to just get into East Europe. In this particular clip here, this is what he had to say about it.
The eastern flank, because here is a direct threat to the eastern flank from, for example, drones or whatever could threaten our allies on the eastern flank. But more generally speaking, you know, I don't like that whole eastern flank thinking because it gives the impression that if I live in Madrid or in London, I'm safer than when I live in Tallinn. And that is not true. because these latest Russian missiles, when they will be launched, they come down with 5 times the speed of sound, and they will take 5 or 10 minutes longer to reach Madrid or London than they take to reach Tallinn or Vilnius. So in that sense, let's agree that within this alliance of 32 countries, we all live on the eastern flank. Why is this eastern sentry so important? Because this concentrates on this very specific issue, which is airspace violations.
So we see this situation here now where the NATO Secretary General is ratcheting up the fact that they need to contain Russia because of these hypersonic missiles that Russia possesses. For that reason, they are also mobilizing. We hear that Germany is mobilizing. Germany has stepped up its military expenditure to 80 billion. It is already conscripting. The documents came out recently that Germany will be conscripting 100,000 people if they don't volunteer. And the whole of NATO there and all these countries are really stepping up and indicating that they want to fight a war with Russia. This is causing a lot of worry. This is causing a lot of worry for most of the countries. And even though Romania and Lithuania and Finland are all doing this, the Russians have won, particularly Finland. Today, a few days ago, Dmitry Medvedev said Finland is preparing a base for an attack on Russia. Finnish authorities must realize that a confrontation with Russia could lead to the collapse of their country, perhaps permanently. It is this kind of discussion and this kind of talk that is very, very prevalent in Russia. Russia really wants to take this battle to quite a lot of those countries that they have history. They had ganged up against Russia in the past. Romania, Hungary, and Finland were all part of Hitler's army that invaded the Soviet Union in the past. They know they have history and they know that this is not a new thing. The Russians don't particularly take this kind of posturing by Finland. It was for that same reason that when they occupied Finland, they insisted that Finland should be neutral, and several years down the road, Finland has chosen again to go and be part of another alliance. It's never an ending thing. And Medvedev, who today was celebrating his 60th birthday and was awarded the highest civilian award by President Putin, today, a few days ago, he actually said that Finland is playing with the possibility of losing their sovereignty permanently. Already, the Russians have moved quite a lot of military arsenal closer to the Finnish border because, as I had said earlier, they have approved the placement of 15 NATO bases in Finland, and that is a clear threat to Russia because Russia shares a 1,500-kilometer border with Finland. It's really heating up, and the Chinese are worried. One thing we should know, though, is that the Chinese have said that they will not be a part of it. The question now, who is going to support China? We know who will be supporting Ukraine. We know that the whole NATO alliance is itching to get into the war. They're already coming to terms with the fact that America may not be part of that coalition of the willing. America has stated categorically that they will not be a part of the coalition of the willing. But yet, it doesn't mean anything to the fact that the Europeans want to continue with their project. They want to continue with, they are very gung-ho with continuing with the project of getting to do battle with the Russians. The Russians are also preparing and they have built up their army. We should know that the military-industrial complex in Russia has become very big. But one thing that the Russians have been doing recently is that they've also been building out reserves. They know that a war that may come with NATO will be a long one, an attritional one that will be drawn out for a long time. So quite a lot of industrialization going on and industrial activity going on in Russia now is one that is preparing for a long war. Wang Yi has said categorically that China does not support war and China will not be taking part in any war. Listen, China does not participate in wars or plan wars, and what China does is encourage peace talks and promote political settlement of hotspot issues through dialogue. He was saying this in Slovenia today. It was in Slovenia, and he's insisting that China does not. But China, we know, has really supported the Russian economy by continuing to continue its economic ties with Russia. It has formed a quasi relationship, a security relationship with Russia, one where everybody knows that if push comes to shove, the Russians, the Chinese may start to be more involved in this war by first deploying their vast military and vast industrial capacity to support the Russians. And if need be, they may take part in the war. We should not forget that when it became a threat to them, and when they saw the Americans marching through Korea and getting close to the Chinese border, the Chinese took part in the Korean War and helped push back the Americans in the Korean War in the 1950s. So the Chinese may not be actively fighting wars now, but they do know that Russia's well-being is in their national interest. And despite all that Wang Yi is saying, it may not be that that may just be the final position of it. So we are in this situation. One thing we are very sure is that Russia can always count on North Korea. They came and they were part of the COSC operations. They have also, Kim Jong-un has said that he will be part of this war. Any war and any time Putin needs him, he can call on him. Putin's strategy has been one where he's calling on most of the Central Asian countries, the Central Asian countries, building better relationship with them. Tajikistan is a big supplier of bodies. They may be different culturally, but they are all in this project together because the well-being of Russia obviously is also the well-being of Central Asian countries like Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and all those countries. And they've collectively been in the CSTO, the Collective Security Treaty Agreement. They are also in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. They know that collectively they are at threat once, despite all the attempts to use Kazakhstan to undermine Russia, they have held firm. And Russia, they are very much in the corner of Russia, if need be. We know what happened in Kazakhstan when there was almost a coup. It was Russian president who deployed military presence to Kazakhstan to crush down that coup, crush down that color revolution. Coups in most parts of the world there these days comes in the form of color revolution orchestrated by USA and the CIA. So Kazakhstan fell to one of such ploys, and it took the effort of Russia President Putin to put it down, just as he had done also for Belarus. There was intense pressure to remove Lukashenko, and he did it. He did it. So we know those who will be in Russia's corner. One thing is that Wang Yi may be saying that he will not be in Russia's corner, but it is very certain that he will be in Russia's corner. Going on to the next topic of the day, and that topic is the one that is happening in Israel. We now have in the Middle East, we have a situation where the strike on Qatar in the Middle East, and in a few days ago on Qatar, Doha, where Israel tried to take out Hamas negotiators who were in Doha to negotiate the release and ceasefire, the release of hostages, Israeli hostages, and ceasefire in the Gaza war, were targeted with missiles. Since then, the Qataris have been galvanized. They've taken their matter to the United Nations and they've called for an emergency meeting of all the Arab countries. Already today, the preliminary part of that meeting took place, and the Prime Minister of Qatar, while addressing, it was the ministerial part of it. Tomorrow, the leaders and presidential part of the meeting will take place. Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani urged the international community on Sunday to stop using double standards and punish Israel for what he described as its crime. He has been very, very vocal. He has called Israel a terrorist state. The relationship between Qatar and Israel has not been a good one, but it has been a tolerable one because of They've had a relationship where Qatar has always hosted Hamas with the BS at the BS of the American government, because America has the largest air base. America has big military presence, and it is by America's security umbrella that the Qatari government has felt secure all these years. So now, with this conflict here, it has created a situation where all the Arab countries clearly see that in any crisis they have an arbiter that is not fair. Israel is more important than all the countries of the GCC. So this galvanization of the Arabs into forming one bloc that will protect their interests is one that is being championed by now the Qataris, and also we hear that the Saudi Arabians are also part of this thing. Already, Egypt, President Sisi has already been saying that there should be a situation where they have a NATO-like framework for Arabs. President Sisi believes that it will be very important that the Arab countries come together and have a standing agreement to protect each other as NATO protects the countries of the North Atlantic. And this meeting is going on. Qatar is continuing to make trouble for Israel. But Israel is not bothered. Israel has been carrying on. Today, something very significant happened in Israel. Marco Rubio, because the relationship between Israel and America and Israel and Qatar and America is one that needs a balancing act. It needs a balancing act because both are very important for the economic well-being, the amount of investments, the future investment. Arab countries are a revenue center for America, while Israel is a cost center for America. It is one where the Israeli lobby continues to insist that the politicians who they support and bring to government will help the Israeli cause. And a lot of American political class are sold onto it and buy it. But generally, America spends a lot in Israel's security, spends a lot in supporting the Israeli state, while to a large extent, they get benefit from the Arab state in the form of all the oil that they prospect in that region and the vast amount of treasury bills and bonds that those Arab countries buy, not to talk of all the other investments that fall outside the normal investment vehicles we see on the portfolio investments that we see, investments that don't come within the. So Marco Rubio today went to Israel to try and make peace, talk to Netanyahu. He was asked about the relationship between Israel and America, and that between the Arabs and Qatar and America. This is the kind of thing he's trying to balance now. And in going to Qatar, to try and solve this, I mean, in Israel, he will also obviously be possibly stopping by the Middle East there. But something very pertinent happened today. He besides the fact that he went to see he was received in Qatar. Besides the fact that he was received in Israel, he also went to the Western Wall of Jerusalem to go and pray or make wishes there. He will be joining a vast array of politicians who these days go to the Western Wall to go and because that's sort of like a fate to the Jews. They go to the Western Wall in Jerusalem and they go there and they show some form of loyalty to the Israeli state. A lot of politicians in America do it now, and the most notable of them, indeed, was President Trump too has also done it. He was the first president in America. This is Marco Rubio here in the Jerusalem Wall with Netanyahu, and this is still him there. Then President Trump too has been there. President Trump was there. President Trump is the first American president to go to the Western Wall, and it shows his loyalty to Israel. He was not very close with him. He was not particularly favored by the Israeli uh, financiers or the APAC when he ran his first course, but he tried to show them that he's very close to Israel. He allowed Jerusalem to become the capital of Israel. He also approved the annexation of Golan Heights. He did a lot to try and prove that he was more a Jew than even the Jews. In fact, a lot of the Jewish community has said he's been the most Jewish of all presidents of America. And now, if you want to be part of the American political firmament that is progressing, if you don't want to be primaried out, you have to be very good in the books of the Jewish lobby. They are very powerful in America. At this point in time, they are the most powerful group and lobby. There was a time when the British lobby was very powerful, but that time is long gone. There was a time when all the lobbies of Eastern Europe, those ones who were very good in undermining the Soviet Union, were very powerful. That time has gone. Tobacco lobby was powerful. That time has also gone. Now, the most powerful and most consequential lobby in America is the Israeli lobby. They make presidents and they make congressmen and senators. And if you want to progress in America, you may just need to go to the Western Wall and whale. Before, when more presidents were more respectful of the two-state solution, they never went to the Western Wall. They felt that Jerusalem was still in contention, but not Trump. Trump has broken that belief and that system. So today, Marco Rubio was there. But the problem now is that crisis is still going on. And despite everything, today we got the news that UAE has banned Israeli defense companies from taking part in the Dubai Air Show, a very big air show. The Israelis were banned out of it. The French, too, during the Paris Air Show, they also banned Israeli companies because they feel that they're using their superior air power to destroy Gaza, kill doctors, kill children, and kill journalists through bombing. So it is their only two way of protesting against what's going on in that part of the world. To end for today, I just want to talk about the fourth round of meetings between China and US that is taking place in Madrid. They are trying to sort out their trade relationship. First, we know that America tried to put a lot of trade sanctions on China, and the Chinese showed a hand nobody foresaw when they used the rare earth metal trump card to hold back the Americans. And since then, the Americans and the Chinese have not come to a full trade agreement. But one of the main topics that is for discussion today will be TikTok. How to resolve this issue of the ban of TikTok in America. The Chinese would, if you ask me, ask my perspective, the Chinese would rather have TikTok closed down than to give them the source code or sell it to an American company. They don't mind because TikTok was banned in China, but TikTok and Shein and Alibaba and all those other American apps are still very popular all over the world, and still people find a way to use them or find alternatives. The last alternative that was used for TikTok was Red Note, and that was also a Chinese app. In this digital world, digital sovereignty only lies within two countries, United States and China. Every other person and every other country is dependent on the apps and the digital products from these two countries. Meanwhile, just as the China trade talks are going on, Philippines, Japan, and the US have deployed vessels and aircrafts for a joint exercise in the South China Sea to continue to put pressure on China in the continuous American strategy of containing China. Well, the containment of China and the fear of China. China is a boogeyman, and China is a big secondary node in this two-node or three-node multipolar world that we have entered. This is where I end my video for today. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you have any comments about all the points I've discussed today, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. Until see you in my next video. Goodbye.